Today what we're going to look at is point slope form and using that to not only graph our equation but also write an equation in slope intercept form like we did for the past couple days. Now with this you'll notice up on the top that your point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So we're going to use that. We're going to fill in the green, the m, and the x1 with numbers, which means the y and the x stay the same. You're always going to have one x and one y left in the problem. So with the next part here, what I want to do is I want to graph this. So with any equation, what I want to do is I want to start with a point. Well, the point that they give me in this first one is 3, so I'm going to count right 3. 1, 2, 3, up 1. That puts my point right there. Now, my slope is 2. Remember, we can always take and put a number over 1. So what this tells me, remember it's rise over run, so I'm going to rise 2, run 1. That puts my dot right there. Rise 2, run 1. That puts my dot right there. And I've got a couple points now. If I wanted to, remember a positive 2 over a positive 1 is the same as a negative 2 over a negative 1. Negative divided by negative is positive. So I'm going to go down to left 1, down to left 1, down to left 1, and I can fill up my entire graph like that. But basically what I want to do now is I want to go through and draw my line, putting arrows at the end. Like I told you yesterday, you need to go through and put those arrows at the end and fill up your entire graph. That's it. Now we go on to B. For B, what we're starting at is our point is 2, 4. So you want to start by going to 2, 4 and putting your dot there. Now, here's the thing. With my next slope, the slope is 3, 4, which means I would need to rise 3. Well, that runs into a problem because I can only go up basically 1.5. So I'm going to use the trick that I showed you on the previous one. I'm going to go 3 over 4 is the same as a negative 3 over a negative 4. So instead of going up 3, I'm going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3 down, 4 left. 1, 2, 3, 4 left. So that's where my point should end up. Now I lay a ruler on here or something like that, draw my line through, and put my arrows at the end. And there's my graph. And that should be it. Now, for C, what I want to do here is I want to start by plotting the point again. I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, down to a negative 3. Put your dot. Now my slope is 0. This is a special case. Remember from last chapter, or the last test actually, same chapter, last test. The special slopes are 0 and undefined. Well, if it's a slope of 0, remember the treadmill. For the treadmill, I can run on it if it's 0 because that's going straight across. Or the other way that some people like to think of it is this way. It's like 0 over 1. So I go up 0 over 1. Up 0 over 1, so on and so on. So my graph will be something like that. And that's it. It's a horizontal line. And that's how I graph these using point slope form. Now, the next thing that I want to do here is I want to write an equation in slope intercept form using the point slope form that I just showed you. So remember what we had is y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. This is on the top of your sheet. I'm going to take and I'm going to plug in the numbers. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to change the slope from 1/6 to 1/5. Otherwise, it turns out kind of nasty with a fraction, and I don't want to start off with that type of problem. Now, remember that the first number here is my x, so this is going to be x1. This is going to be y1. Okay? Now, what I need to do is I need to plug in the numbers. So I'm going to go y minus y1 is 1 equals m is 1/5 parenthesis x minus x1 is 5. And that's my equation. Now, in points or slope intercept form, remember our goal is to get y alone, just like we did yesterday over and over again. I want to get y alone. Y equals mx plus b. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to distribute. I'm going to multiply each thing in here by 1/5. So I get y minus 1 equals 1/5 x minus 1/5 of 5 is 1. So I've gotten rid of my parentheses. My last thing here is to get rid of my 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So what that gives me is y equals 1/5 x plus a negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Or we could just write y equals 1/5 x. Both of those would be okay. On a test, you're probably, if it were multiple choice, you're probably going to see the bottom one. Remember, anytime you add 0, it's going to stay the same. Or it's not, 0 doesn't change anything. For b, we're going to do the same type of deal. We're going to go y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Remember, this is my x1, this is my y1, and my m you obviously know from right there. Forgot to add my parenthesis. I'm going to plug the numbers in. I'm going to go y minus y1 is a negative 4 equals m is a negative 3, x minus x1 is going to be a negative 1. Now, from here, what I want to do, 2 negatives make a positive. So this is really going to become y plus 4 equals negative 3. I'm going to leave this for just 1 second. 2 negatives make a positive. I really want to do that first. Otherwise, I have 3 negatives there, and that can tend to lead to a little confusion. But I'm going to do the same thing as what I did on the other problem. I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to distribute a negative 3 to each thing here. So I'm going to go y plus 4 equals a negative 3 times x is a negative 3x, and a negative 3 times 1 is minus 3. Now my last thing is to move that 4 over, so I need to subtract 4 from both sides. And what I get is y equals a negative 3x minus 7. Now that's my equation in slope-intercept form. I have y all by itself. The next type of problem is going to be one like this, where you have the slope and you have a point. We want to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Now, the directions are over on the right. Okay, we want to plug in the givens into PSF, point slope form. So we're going to go like this. We're going to go y minus the y value from that point. Now, remember the y value is always the second one. So I'm going to go y minus 4 equals m. M is 3. X minus the x value is a negative 1. Now, remember, 2 negatives make a positive. So I get y minus 4 equals, distributing my 3 to each thing inside here, I get 3x plus 3. From here, what I want to do is get y by itself, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. That then gives me, on the left-hand side, all I have is y equals 3x plus 7. And I put my equation in slope-intercept form. Now, some equations are not going to ask for slope-intercept. They may just ask for point slope, and you're actually done with the very first step. However, some equations are going to ask for slope-intercept, and this is one other way to get it. Remember, the last couple days, what we've done is when we got the equation, we went through and just found what the b value was, and then plugged it in. This is a different way to get that b value. A lot of people like this way better. Actually, I would say it's about 50-50. 50% of the people like to get the slope-intercept form this way. 50% like to go through and find the b value. It's up to you. It really doesn't make a difference. Now, with the last problems here, these last two problems are the type of problems that you see quite a bit. Now, what we want to do here is we want to find the slope first. So remember, my slope is the m, and what I need to do is I need to take and put y minus y on the top. So I pick a y value. I want to pick 1. Well, below the 1 has to go the 4, because the 1 is the x value, the 4 is the y value. And the other point, a negative 3 has to go on top, because it's the y value. Below that has to go 2 because that is the negative 3's x value. Now, two negatives make a positive. So 1 plus 3 is 4 over 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 divided by 2, you get 2. So my slope is 2, or 2 over 1 if you want, but 2 is a little easier to work with. Now, step 2, pick one point and plug it into point slope form. So I'm going to go y minus, it does not matter which y value you pick. So I'm going to pick a negative 3 equals the slope, which we just found to be 2, x minus the x value. Well, 3's x value, the x value that goes with the 3 is 2. Remember, we're working from this point right now. So I'm going to take and put a 2 right here. Now, that gives me that two negatives make a positive. So I'm going to go y plus 3 equals, distribute my 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times a negative 2 is a negative 4. Last step, subtract 3 from both sides, and you have y equals 2x minus 7. And that's my equation. All right, what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause the video and go through and try B, please. All right, so finding your slope. Please follow along. Make sure yours looks something similar to this. Remember, it doesn't matter which one you pick on the top here. I'm going to pick 9 over negative 2. The y value over the y value. And I'm going to put 1 over 0. So 9 minus 1 is 8 over a negative 2 minus 0 is a negative 2. This reduces to a negative 4. Well, everybody should get a slope of a negative 4. If you didn't, please go back and double check. If you got a negative 1/4, you flipped it. Please go, you've got to make sure you put the y values on top. So now I'm going to go to point slope form. I'm going to go y minus the y value. Well, I really like zeros when I'm doing problems like this because they make things go away. It doesn't matter which one you pick. So I'm going to pick the 1 for the y value. And the reason why is the x value is 0. So I'm going to go y minus 1. That gives equals a negative 4 x minus 0. So I distribute. I get y minus 1 equals a negative 4x. Well, a negative 4 times 0, positive or negative, is still going to be 0. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I get y equals a negative 4x plus 1. And that's what you should end up getting for your slope-intercept form. And that's all that we have for today. That's all the notes that we have. So please go on the right-hand board. There should be an assignment. Please work on that assignment for the rest of the hour. If you need to, check your answers in the back of the book or check with somebody around you.